What is going on, everybody? Jim here with episode number 4 of the Fallout television show. I'm going to go into all of the excitement. I'm here to recap the episode, talk about major plot threads, comparisons, fun moments, and a little bit later on in the video, we'll talk through some of those Easter eggs as well. Who am I? I'm a Fallout superfan who has played every single Fallout game in its entirety. That does include Fallout 76. I love the series. I love the franchise. I'm super excited that Amazon was able to port this to television in such a faithful recreation. So buckle up, Buttercup, and here we go. Before we get into today's video, though, I'd love for you guys to subscribe to the channel. Today's episode is called The Ghouls. Now, this is a very interesting episode that deals a lot with survival, and it talks a lot to kind of the morality of some of the characters. We'll go character by character for some of the major plot threads, and then we'll jump into the Easter eggs at the end of this video. First, Lucy, the main character of the show. She's probably going to be in every single episode, and she is here front and center. Very early on, she loses a finger, which was just horrifying that her finger could absolutely just get sliced off so easily. But fear not, they give her a fake one later on, because this is Fallout. That's what's going to happen. Lucy is being held prisoner by the ghoul. The ghoul, unbeknownst to Lucy at this time, is going to sell her to a group that will body harvest her. In exchange, he's going to get some medicine, the same medicine that she broke last episode, if you recall, when she was being attacked by the grouper. She takes all of the ghoul's box of medicine and cracks it over the head, and they all break, and the ghoul is very, very upset. Well, we find out why. The ghoul needs that to remain human. That's going to be very, very important later on. The thing to understand with Lucy's character right now is she is still continuing to get a massive rude awakening in terms of what is going on in the world. And it's so funny that this episode contrasts between her adventures and what's going on in the Vault 33 and, by extension, Vault 32, where she's out there losing her fingers, fighting life and limb, almost dying, and they're arguing over who's going to be elected president. Well, they call it overseer, but whatever. Who's going to be elected overseer? Who's going to get the Jell-O for the day? And it's so funny to see those two stark comparisons between those two storylines. It's so good. Lucy, unfortunately, runs into the ghoul very early on. She's taken prisoner, as we know. And she's going to be traded. Basically, they're going to harvest her body, her organs. In exchange, they're going to give the ghoul some more of his vitals, which really looks like a combination of like Mentats and Jets and some other stuff. Basically a concoction that's supposed to kind of keep him normal. And things go horribly wrong. Of course, she fights her way out from a sadistic Mr. Handy robot and successfully basically survives what I'm going to consider like a really cool side mission in a Fallout game. I loved it. It was so true to kind of the Fallout world where you're introduced to a new place. Things seemingly are one way, but they go horribly wrong. You kind of find out the backstory of the characters, the motivation behind the characters. And after an intense fight, you gather the loot and leave. And that's pretty much what happened here, almost to a T. I can't help but think that when the show was being written, they weren't thinking of a traditional dungeon or side quest that you would do in a Fallout game, because this felt so much like that. And I absolutely adored it. It was so, so well done. A couple side notes here. Lucy successfully escapes, thankfully. We do see the transformation from a quote-unquote regular ghoul to a feral ghoul, which basically is just them slowly losing their humanity. Additionally, we get a really cool kind of showdown with her and these two stoner dudes via this old-time television with these giant cassette tapes that plug in and out. As far as I can recall, I've never seen those in any of the video games before. So this was something that was kind of neat to see. We have seen those old-timey televisions before, but we've never actually seen a set of portable media, and I thought that was really well done. Maximus is MIA this entire episode. No Thaddeus, no Maximus. We'll see them again next week. Their screen time was taken up by Chet and Norm in Vault 33, who discover a mystery that Vault 32 is actually open from the outside using Chet's mother's Pip-Boy. Now, we know that some crazy things happen in Vault 32, and I suspect, just like as I mentioned with kind of the side mission, so to speak, from the Super Duper Mart, I think we're going to find out that Vault 32 is up to no good. And obviously they went a little crazy. The raiders coming in at the end were not the original cause of death. And it'll be interesting to kind of see how that evolves. Now, watching all of this unfold through Norm's vision, who is a kind of skittish person, who is a loudmouth, but for the most part, he would flee away from confrontation. Watching him navigate through kind of the scene and seeing all the dead bodies and how they died and how they were positioned, and did these two people strangle each other? And it looks like this person, they shot each other, like him walking through and explaining it again. Why I loved it so much, exactly like what happens in the video games. You coming into something that's already happened. The history has already happened. The notes are there. The diaries are there. The world, the ambience is telling the story. And that's exactly what happens in this episode. And it happens again exactly with him looking through and uncovering what happened in Vault 32. And again, I can't help but think this is a great side mission. This would have been a great Fallout side quest. It has the same kind of feel to it, starting to uncover things. He has to kind of go into the computer, do a little bit of fact finding. It was really, really well done. I don't know who wrote this episode, but I've got to say that they definitely had some massive inspirations from the game. And as a massive fan of the franchise, it was so cool to see and feel those moments on the big screen. I love that. Absolutely. It was great. The Ghoul himself, the other character of the show, not too much with the Ghoul this week. He's still kind of struggling with what it means to be human. He's still seeing semblance of his humanity. In the end, Lucy does throw him a bone after she escapes and gives him a bunch of vials, so he is now able to kind of regain and maintain his quote-unquote humanity for a while. He's not going to go feral anytime soon. Just like last week, we are treated to a snippet of his past. This time, he's actually watching an old movie of himself. So again, having more flashbacks to what his life was like before. This is now the second episode in a row where we have seen him go back and reminisce on things in his old life, but still hasn't changed him. He's still a hardened, kind of tough guy who doesn't seem to care. Even though he's getting these snippets to what it meant to be human in the past, he doesn't care. He's just sticking to his guns, and he's going to continue to be just this nasty guy that we know. I suspect we will see some redemption for the Ghoul down the road. It would make the most logical sense that he will either sacrifice himself or he will do something to kind of help Lucy and probably Maximus kind of achieve a goal. I can't imagine every single episode he's going to be treated to some part of his past and continue yet again to not act on it and change his ways. Clearly, we've seen that Lucy can change her ways. She doesn't necessarily go evil, but she gets kind of tough. Maximus, obviously, going through, watching basically allowing his friend to die, right? So that he could take over because he feels that, he is the mantle for being a paladin. I feel like the Ghoul is going to have his own moment too. We'll have to wait and see. But overall, I thought this episode was phenomenal. It was definitely the closest to the core video game content we've seen yet. And I loved how this episode was paced and it was told and how the story was told and a lot of nonverbal cues. That's exactly what makes the Fallout games magical, and they pulled it off here. I'll leave you with some fun Easter eggs because that's what I do is I'm comparing and contrasting kind of things that I have seen in the show. The first is Lucy drinks irradiated water while her Geiger counter is going absolutely ballistic. Now, you can drink irradiated water in the games for a small health boost. A lot of times you get it from fountains or from toilets. It's usually like 1 rad per gulp. It is like the worst possible way to actually get health in the game. But the fact that, her Geiger counter is going just absolutely bananas and she's drinking it anyway is really, really cool. I'll be curious to see if she takes some Rad X or some Rad Away at some point to kind of like mitigate the radiation, because she's been exposed to quite a bit. Obviously starting to drink it now, we may start to see things happen. I don't think this game is going to, or I don't think this show is going to go down the comical game route of the game where she's going to grow like some weird appendage or anything. Obviously those are more game isms, but we'll have to see. But I suspect she'll do something at some point to kind of scrub the radiation from her system. Her Pip-Boy, did you notice the menu on her Pip-Boy? The exact same menu as the Pip-Boy in Fallout 3 and Fallout 4. It has stat, inventory, data, map, and radio. And if you look very closely, the picture she's looking at with her dad is under the data tab, which is exactly where you would expect it to be. That's where you would get your mission information and photos or any key information to help you complete quests. So I thought that was a really nice touch that they added that into her actual Pip-Boy functionality. I could go on and on about the music. I haven't really talked about it much so far in my reviews, but if you've played any of Fallout 3 or Fallout 4, I guarantee you've heard a lot of the songs that were played in the episodes, which I just think is a great nod back to that old-timey music, but also to the classic games. Her Abraxo cleaner bomb that she creates, or the dart, I should say. Actually, in Fallout 4, Abraxo Cleaner is an ingredient in Mentats. And Mentats give you 2 intelligence and 5 perception for a limited time. They're basically medicine that makes you smarter. It helps you pass speech checks, which I found humorous that she was dealing with 2 kind of like pothead dudes, that she would use something that is a common ingredient in something that makes you more intelligent, because those guys were clearly opposite of intelligence. Now here in its raw form, it's used as this kind of like hazardous chemical. It starts to soak through the couch and like eat away at the couch, clearly indicating if she shot the dart at one of the 2 guys, it would probably like burn a hole in their body and potentially kill them. So they react and open the ghoul cage, which we saw how all that plays out. But the idea that we are still getting items from the game, like this week, Abraxo Cleaner in the television show, was awesome. And lastly, the actual place itself, the Super Duper Mart, is actually a very famous area in Fallout 4. And it's a mission that you can go into later and explore. Basically, a bunch of Minutemen died there to feral ghouls. Seems kind of right, like just like here. So lots of nods there. I did check the names of the mission. I did look at the credits at the end of this episode to see if those guys who were in the mart were related to the characters in Fallout 4, and they are not. It was about Emma and Josh, a guy and a girl who get separated from their group in Fallout 4. Here, it's just 2 seemingly random pothead dudes. So no relation there. Fun little Easter eggs to that piece, other than the fact that Super Duper Mart itself is a very known location. So great episode. I absolutely adored it. I will be back again for episode number 5 when I get through it, and I will have another review for you guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.